Welcome to Living Lit, where conversations spark inspiration to live in truth. Journey together with us to explore what it means to live a liturgical life and walk in the truth of our faith. Let's instill a culture in our hearts, homes, families, and world, living a life cooperating with and walking alongside our Lord. I'm Robin Brueggemann. Let's be a light, share the light, shine the light, and live lit. Hi, Raquel. We have Raquel from the Little Rose Shop joining us on Living Lit today, and I am just so excited for you listeners and viewers to get to meet Raquel on our show today. So welcome, Raquel, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor and a privilege. I'm excited.
Oh, the honor and privilege is ours too. And you are in Colorado. I am in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. So we're actually in two different time zones even. So that's always a little bit tricky too to meet up with each other just because we have the time change. But thank you so much for joining us. So in the intro, before we started recording, I talked a little bit about your ministry, the Little Rose Shop. So will you tell us a little bit about the Little Rose Shop, the ministry, the store, how it got going? Tell us your story about that.
Yeah, so the Little Rose Shop, it's a God story. It all came about after just a really pivotal point in my life, and it was really my big God moment that I had, a huge reconversion to the faith. So when I was in college, I was really struggling with my faith, living a very broken lifestyle, and I became pregnant at the age of 21. And it was like the peak of my brokenness. I was so afraid. I was so ashamed. I was embarrassed. I didn't know what to do. And I had been raised Catholic. And so I knew the church teaching around abortion. But when I found myself in that situation, I was so afraid. I was so attacked by the devil that I made an appointment. And it was such a depressing and horrible, horrible time, really dark time. But the miracle came a week before my appointment. I landed in Mass in the very back pew, just like, what am I even doing here? Like, I'm such a hypocrite. I shouldn't even be here. But in Mass that day, God fought for me so hard. And he really pierced my heart, truly. The readings were all directed at me. It was all about the prodigal son were the readings. And then literally at the moment of consecration, I saw Jesus truly for the first time in the Eucharist. Wow. And I saw that he had died for me. And I felt him speak to my heart saying, Raquel, your brokenness is not too much for me. I can carry it. I always get a little emotional when I share that because obviously it was such a profound moment. And in that moment, I was like, okay, let's do this. I can choose life, and I need to radically change my life right now because I have seen God and he has reached out his hand straight to me. And so I chose life, praise God. Yes. And thank you to all the people who pray for women like me, because those prayers, they come to those moments. And so I was able to choose life, and my life was forever changed. And I knew I had to start owning the faith for myself, because up until that moment, I don't think I had ever really claimed it as my own faith or took ownership of it. It was just something that I was raised in, and I kind of knew church teaching, and I even went to Catholic school, but I never claimed it for myself. And so at that moment, that was when I knew I had to make a change. I had to take ownership for my faith because I was becoming a mother, and I needed to live the faith in a very real way. And so after I had my daughter, I was a single mom, newly converted to this faith, newly passionate, and I was trying to figure out how to really incorporate it in my everyday life to make it real, not just this thing I did on Sundays. And also same for my daughter. And so my gifts that I've been blessed with is creativity. And so I started just making little crafty things, mostly for my daughter. Little faith-based toys. I scrounged together these little saint dolls for her because I just wanted her to learn about the faith at her level. And again, just like bring it into our daily life, like just she's having a normal little tea party with a little Mary doll. And
so precious.
And so that's how it really began. And then my friends were like, these are so cute. Like, you should try to sell these on Etsy. And so it just started super innocently. And then there seemed to be a big demand, and I kept selling out, and I was struggling to keep up, and it just was growing and growing. And it was just this side hobby for a really long time. And then about 3.5 years ago, so since then I had gotten married and I had more children. And after I had my third child, I decided to take a risk and quit my day job and see if I could just make up a little bit of the income from this side creative business. And it just took off. And so I've been at it full time for about 3 years. So I'm just like a baby entrepreneur. But we've expanded. I make and design all sorts of, Catholic faith-based items. But the heart of the shop and the mission is to bring faith into everyday life. So you'll see a lot of prayers incorporated on my mugs or blankets, just as this visual and beautiful reminder to pray. And we make a lot of fun toys for the littles so they can just learn about the saints while they're just playing right alongside their other dolls or their Barbies or whatever. And so they're just bringing it into their life at their level. And so that's the story from just this moment of brokenness and then redemption. And this is something that, like I said, it's a God story, because this would have never happened if I didn't have that moment in front of the Eucharist and have my life changed drastically. And so in the Little Rose Shop, so the name is for my daughter. Her middle name is Rose. My middle name is also Rose. And my confirmation saint is Saint Therese.
Oh, nice.
Flower.
Yep.
And another kind of little story behind the name is just the symbolism of a rose in general. It's a thorn bush, but beauty, and one of the most powerful symbols of love, a rose, still comes from it. And so it's just this little reminder to me that God, he makes all things new and he makes all things beautiful. You just have to give him what you have.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Raquel, that is such a beautiful story. I have not heard that much of your story. I've heard little bits and pieces that you've shared, probably on social media, but that is beautiful. I mean, so many things were coming into my mind as you were telling us, like the choosing life. So beautiful, so beautiful. And just the turning back to your faith. I love that. How even even if we're not like super practicing our faith, like it's still in us, right? Like that's what I'm hearing. Like you're raised with it and it was still like there in you enough to just go, okay, you know what? I'm going to turn to the Lord or to the faith. And I love that so much. And what a powerful story of him meeting you right there where you were in that time in your life. Like so beautiful, so beautiful. Oh my goodness. I love hearing the story behind like your ministry then, because it truly is a ministry for you that you're providing, out of what you went through and, recognizing all that the Lord did for you, has done for you and walking you through that and just making everything, like you say, beautiful, that now you're able to pass that gift on. Like, I just love that. Oh, what a beautiful story. And even how you pointed out those of us who pray for moms that are in those situations. That is so powerful too. So that wasn't something that, this is like Holy Spirit led right now. That is just so beautiful. Like, so just that reminder to just continue, like so many people that we pray for that we don't necessarily know. Like we can pray for those that we know, our people in our immediate circle, our friends and family. But then when we go and pray for the people that we don't specifically know, but have on our prayers, like, for people that choose life or, moms in those situations, like that's just so powerful to hear now as a recipient of that. That is just absolutely beautiful. So how old is your daughter now?
She's 10.
10.
Years old.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So does she help you with any of the little Rose Shop stuff?
Yes, she's my top model of the product.
I love it. I bet she loves that too.
Yes.
So you had mentioned that
she gives me all sorts of ideas, and all my kids, they're so cute. They help me in different ways. Our whole shipping department is in our basement.
Oh, awesome.
And so they help pack things, and but mostly they play with the stuff. And
well, I have to tell you, I've seen your things, and we will link your website onto today's show notes, as well as the other things we're going to talk about. But I see your stuff now, and so you have stuff for all ages. So you have like T-shirts for. Do you have women and men's, or just women's right now?
I have a few men's, but it's mostly like mom T-shirts for sure.
Okay. So you have T-shirts, you have mugs that are great. You have, like you mentioned, like this little stuffed animals and just little, like I said, faith-based things that children can play with. And I have 7. My youngest is 9. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I had this when my kids were little, because your stuff is just darling. And I just love that it's so, like, it's the saints and it's our faith. And it does just really, in this like subtle way, just like, it's just right where they're seeing it, they're touching it, they're playing with it. And I just feel like that is such a beautiful way to infuse the faith into them. But the good news is I have grandkids now, so I can start buying some of those cute goodies for them.
Yay.
And I just think I want to look down the pew when they're with me at church and be like, oh, those are so cute. Because they're just darling. So yeah, how do you feel like it connects you spiritually? So now that you have a little Rose Shop and you've been doing that for a few years full time now, how does that affect your spirituality? Like, do you feel like this connection? I'm sure because it was born from your faith, this ministry and this shop. And I love that you mentioned using the gifts that the Lord gave you. That is also so beautiful when one can recognize, okay, this gift is from the Lord and I can use it to bless others. I absolutely love that. So are there ways that you feel like it spiritually connects you, since that's your daily work, but yet it's this ministry?
Yes. So oftentimes when I come out with new products, it's really from a place where I've discovered a new tool that has helped me in my spiritual life, and I just want to share it. And so, for example, one of my mugs has the morning offering prayer on it, and I had never known about it until my adult life. And I just loved the prayer so much once I learned about it, but I couldn't like remember it, the whole thing. And so I put it on a mug to remind me, and I would have it right in front of me so I wouldn't forget the whole prayer, to be able to say it when I had my morning cup of coffee. And so, that just came after I discovered this really powerful prayer. And so a lot of the things come out of me just learning and hopefully, deepening my spiritual life and finding things that are helpful. And I like to make things practical and tangible. So a lot of my stuff like literally has the whole prayer on the blanket or on the mug or whatever. So that way you don't have to, rely on your memory when you're sleep deprived, and just like trying to get through the day. And it's just really practical, especially for moms with young kids, because that's just been my season for a long time. And it's a tough season. I mean, you're in the trenches and you're tired and you're serving. And so these little things on the coffee mug, like it just helps you remember that even in these, trying times, and even when you're sleep deprived, and even when it's like the 100th load of laundry or, the 1,000th dirty diaper, like there is still sacredness in that. And these are just little reminders.
Yes.
Visual reminders. And so that's kind of the goal, is that it's tangible, and it's visual and hopefully beautiful.
They are, everything
so
you've produced
really,
is beautiful.
Basically everything has come from me using something and realizing this has been helpful. This has been a helpful tool. So I'm going to try to share it. I
love that, because it is, like you say, it's sanctifying those moments where we can sometimes feel like they get mundane and like what am I doing? Or you just kind of get drowned in that. So I love that it's like these subtle, but not so subtle really, hints of bringing holiness into those moments, into your day, into your life. I love that. So it absolutely does then connect spiritually, like I said, for yourself, because that's born out of what you've been going through and what's been helpful. So I love that. And even like thinking of like the habit stacking, like, you know, you get your morning coffee, and then if you see the morning offering, it's like, okay, it's time to say my morning offering. I love that, because so many times I'm like, okay, let's say that when I get up in the morning, and then sometimes you forget, you know, or whatever. But I love that. It's just that stacking them together and bringing that holiness into everything. So I absolutely love that. So what I stumbled upon lately with you, so I've followed you for a while on social media and just adored and admired your works, and even different, you know, like stories you share or quotes like you had. One of the things I really appreciated lately leading up to Mother's Day. So we're recording right after Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to you and to all moms listening. But you even had, you know, praying for moms of all kinds, praying for moms if you have a broken relationship or you've lost your mom, things like this. So I love other little wisdom tidbits that you share. So beautiful too. And recently what you came out with is a Mary Garden guide and challenge. And when I saw this, so I was like, oh my goodness, that is gold. So beautiful. And so I think this beautifully ties into your story, your motherhood story personally. And now I would love to kind of go into talking about having a Mary Garden and how you came up with the guide, which I'm going to hold up here for our camera. And we're going to link this below in the show notes too, but it is absolutely beautiful. So tell us about how you came up with your Mary Garden guide and the Mary Garden challenge that you have going on right now.
Yes. Well, I love Mary.
Me too.
And having a story of walking through what I went through, becoming a single mom and choosing life, I really developed a strong connection with Mary at that time, because she, you know, had a similar battle. She had to choose life too. And she was afraid. And I just, like in the scripture, it says that she was greatly troubled when the angel told her this. And so that was just such a comforting thing to know that Mary was scared. She chose life. She overcame. And so she's been such a mother to me. So love Mary. And so in my journey with Mary, as my spiritual mother, you know, I learned about Mary Gardens, and thought they were just so beautiful, and started looking for, you know, my perfect Mary statue that just would really speak to me, and remind me, you know, because she always points back to Jesus. So just her spiritual motherhood, you know, guiding me closer to Jesus. And so I just had this strong connection with Mary, and wanted to make a Mary Garden. And, you know, discussing this with my friends, you know, who doesn't want to make a Mary Garden? Who has a connection with Mary? And being creative, I was like, well, I would love for people to share this creative project, because that's another thing, kind of a side mission with my shop is just sharing creativity as a form of spirituality. Because I'm sure, as you have noticed, my creative gifts ultimately strengthen my relationship with God. And I truly believe we're all created to create in some way, because we are made in God's image, and God is creative. He created everything. And so if we're made in his image, we are actually inherently creative too. And it can come out in so many different ways. For some, it's, you know, cooking. For some, it's gardening. For some, it's art. And so anyways, I have kind of had this side mission of just inviting people into this creative form of spirituality. And so with May, thought it was the perfect time to just share that with other people and create this Mary Garden challenge. And just kind of a fun thing. Like, it's not even really related to my shop or anything business related. It was just a fun community building thing that I hope, you know, brings a spiritual aspect to people's lives and helps them create a beautiful space in their home where they can experience more prayer and more of God's presence. So my team, we created this Mary Garden guide, and we just invited people in this challenge throughout the month of May to make their own special Mary Garden. And it's just been so fun. I haven't done anything like this before. Oh, okay. But it's just been really fun to be able to offer this different side to, our followers and our community, and allowing them to be creative and make their own, beautiful thing that they can be proud of, that they made this, and hopefully it brought them closer to God on the way.
Yeah. I love how you've turned this into like a community builder, because you really have. So you have a Facebook community, which you can join for the Mary Garden Challenge. Is that just on Facebook?
Yes, it's just on Facebook right now.
Okay. So for our viewers and listeners, they can just go onto Facebook. Well, you can sign up for the challenge through your website, and then also download the guide, which we'll talk a little bit about here in a minute, which will have the links. But then you can also go to the Facebook. I'm trying to remember if it's under Little Rose Shop or is it the Mary Garden Challenge?
I think you'll be able to find it by searching both. But if you sign up for the challenge, you will receive an email that will invite you to join. It'll
automatically.
Well.
Yep. Perfect.
Yes.
So I do love the community, because it's been fun to see people share ideas, because I've been popping on, and then you have been doing some videos, and you guys have just so beautifully put this guide together. So Raquel and her team have just done such an amazing job. I so encourage you guys to you have to print this off. It is so amazing. But I love how you go through, what is a Mary Garden? Because someone listening might be like, well, what is that exactly? Some people, they have statues. You're like, oh my gosh, I've had a couple people say, I've had a statue and didn't know what to do with it, and this is giving me the courage to do it, or the inspiration. Or maybe there's someone that they haven't heard of it. So you talk, about what is it? How does it work? And then you break it down into choosing your space. And I also love that you are reminding people it doesn't have to be outside. It can be inside or outside or both. You talk about finding your statue, and you give resources. You talk about collecting your flowers and accessories, which I love. That's the week you're on, I think, right now in your challenge. And when people watch this, it'll come out a little bit later. So can they still join into this? Will you leave the group up for a while?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
The group will remain. We'll probably pause it, but you'll be able to see everything that's happened.
Perfect.
And still get all that inspiration.
Awesome. Because so this month, or right now, the video you've released is actually, I loved it. You showed a bunch of Marian flowers. So Raquel, she has pictures on Facebook of in the group of the different flowers and the names, and then how they tie into Mary. It's so awesome. I'm a nerd about stuff like that. I absolutely love that. It makes gardening really fun. I'm not a green thumb. I can usually keep perennials alive, and then my husband has to usually come bail me out to make sure stuff really lives. But I absolutely love, there's just really sweet, tender connection when you start finding those Marian themed flowers, and you plant them in your home or your garden, or you have them in your home or plant them in your garden. That just gives you this really sweet connection to our Blessed Mother. And it helps me too. So the other thing, when I was looking at that video you just released, and you had some of the different, almost like virtues and different things that are Marian related. And it made me even think, that is such a sweet reminder, even to pray to be more like our Blessed Mother, to pray more for those virtues and just the beautiful qualities she has. So I love how you did that. So Raquel also has that in the Mary Garden community, and then you go into creating it. So, and you go through even choosing your space, and Raquel gives all kinds of ideas. So you have to print this guide to see it. I'm just in awe of how you guys have thought of everything. I love how you have touched on so many different ideas and ways that each person can make it special to themselves. And that's what I love about this is I feel like you've done such a beautiful job of making someone be able to make their own special sacred space. It doesn't have to look like someone else's. It can, but it doesn't have to. And when someone goes through your little, kind of a little quiz, a design quiz and stuff, and it's just, you've thought of everything. Even how to rescue a statue. If you find a Mary statue somewhere, how do you care for it? How do you clean it up? I absolutely love that you guys have thought of everything. So is there anything, what's been your favorite part of having a Mary Garden? I know you have one for sure in your window well, which I was I saw that and I'm oh my gosh, that is brilliant to do with our ugly window wells in the basement, to turn them into a Mary Garden. So that was your first Mary Garden, right? Outside your office window.
The first Mary Garden I ever made. And because my office, one of my offices, we've moved now. And so my office is not in a basement corner anymore, but it used to be in the basement corner room. And I would sit and sew my little Saint dolls, and I would stare at this bland window well and see spider webs. And it was very dingy and not very inspirational.
Yeah.
And that was recently after I had like started hearing about Mary Gardens. And so for that Mother's Day, this was a couple years ago, I was like, this is what I want. I want to make a Mary Garden in my window well. Like,
that's
it'll
brilliant.
be all fake flowers because, light doesn't really shine down there, but it'll actually be something beautiful for me to look at and be actually inspired by, instead of just like, ooh, there's another spider. Like, so, and I really believe that after I made this Mary Garden window well, that there were no more spiders that,
oh my
that
gosh.
I saw, at least. I think she kept the spiders
She's stomping
away.
them. That is really funny.
Yes, that was my first one. And ever since then, I've just been hooked. I can't get enough. So
yeah. Well, so by the time people listen, it may or may not, someone may hear this, it might be after May. So we want people to know that they can still do this, right? It doesn't, we hear on the May is the month of Mary. So that's so perfectly timed when you have launched this and released it, but want people to know that they can really do it anytime. Like even this summer, they could jump into getting outdoor plants or whatever in their area and still work on it, or inside anytime. And I will say too, like we started our Mary Garden. We have a couple and we have indoor little Mary Garden-y areas, but our outside one has been a work in progress. Like we add to it each year. It's like we started it and it was just kind of, okay, we did it. We set the statue, we added a few plants, and every year now I have fun looking for like maybe 1 or 2 or 3 or maybe 5, I don't know, more plants or perennials to add. I don't know if you have found that too with yours, where you just start thinking a little bit more about it. So I would just encourage any of our listeners and viewers then to just hop into even if the actual challenge has ended, to still do it, to still have a Mary Garden. That sacred space, I think, within your home or on your property is just such a beautiful way to bring the sacred into your domestic church, your home area. And I love, like, we can see our Mary Garden. We live on a farm and we can see it from like different areas in the farm and our house. And there's just something when I see our Blessed Mother, the statue of her walking, it looks like she's walking in our garden. It brings this beautiful peace, but also this reminder to just like recenter back into our faith, whatever's going on in the day. So I absolutely love that you have made it really doable and simple and broken it down for anybody. And I love that anybody could do this. You could be single, you could be married, you could have a family, you could be a grandma, you could be a college student. Maybe you're going home for the summer and you want to start one in your folks' whatever. I feel like any woman can do this, or man too. So Thank you for putting this together, you and your team. Oh my goodness, it has blessed me tremendously. And I know others too, like I've seen in the community. I've seen the creative wheels turning. So it's been fun to be part of the community as well that you've started. And what a beautiful thing that you've started then by having these people gather in an effort to ultimately, bring more honor to our Blessed Mother and ultimately to grow closer to our Creator. So I just love that, Raquel. So thank you so much. So we will have the links to this, and we're going to bring Raquel on another show too, where we're going to have her talk about one of the most brilliant things I've stumbled across, and that is the liturgical calendar. So Raquel, we'll have you back for that show. But for this episode, we thank you so much for what you've shared of your story of motherhood, such a beautiful story and journey, and just how the Lord has worked in your life and how you've taken and turned just all of this into just something so beautiful and sharing with all of us. So thank you so much, Raquel. And we'll make sure to link all your stuff. And I encourage everybody, just go check out Raquel's website and shop. And the other thing I wanted to mention quick, you have YouTube for rosaries. So check her out on YouTube you can pray the rosary either alone or with your kiddos. And you have some downloadable color sheets and stuff on your website too. So yes. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Raquel.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for joining us today. Remember to like, subscribe, and share Living Lit, and reach out with topics you'd like tackled at livinglit@sfcatholic.org. And be the light, shine the light, share the light, and live lit.